On the export processing zone, beyond the basic definition which I have done, um, well, different arguments can be claimed. One is actually export processing zone is taken by some people as the places where basically this race to bottom is done in a more step-by-step way. I mean, creating certain zones where the labor market conditions are more relaxed or other regulations are more relaxed basically may make many companies are coming to those zones to produce, and in return, well, those companies of course export to other regions, but I mean, internationally, the company itself might rather buy from the company other companies export processing zones. So and also internally, since many companies are going to those locations and they have advantage of selling their outputs internationally, and other companies in foreign other countries export processing zones start to gain advantage against them by producing products more cheaply, let's say, it might actually make the taxing condition, labor market conditions, and environmental conditions worse also in the host country, in other outside of the export processing zones. So it might be just a step to degrading the conditions in the country and creating this race to bottom in a different form again. And also, in some cases, these companies might be well, using the sources of the countries but not benefiting those countries specifically. However, export processing zones can also be built in locations where the economy of a region is relatively less developed, and basically it might encourage, it might create special advantages for those locations and encourage companies to invest there. And as these regions become more industrialized, well, investments can also be made maybe outside of the export processing zones, basically. Another aspect of export processing zones is actually, yes, they can actually degrade the working conditions of the overall workforce in the country. That's true. However, they might also provide a zone where non-traditional workers, which might be resisted by the traditional workforce. For example, it might be male workforce. It provides a working area for them. For example, in India or Bangladesh, women mostly don't have that many opportunities for work, and export processing zones might provide them a location where actually they might join the labor force and do some work. And that might be another benefit of the export processing zones. I mean, this underdeveloped regions and underutilized part of the population might be joined to the central economy of the country, basically. Well, now we can talk on the national corporations, and the corporations themselves are built. Well, whenever we are talking of multinational corporations, it is not just a corporation which has connection with international other companies. That connection itself might be built through trade relations. but multinational corporations are also companies that are that usually have some counterparts, some at least facilities in other countries as well. And whenever a country will invest in another country and build a facility there, one way or the other, it can be a restaurant, it can be a factory, it can be a hotel. It can even be if you're a car, automobile factory, let's say repair shop or a gallery, basically. Even though those can be investments. Basically, three advantages might be there that is drawing the companies. One is the advantage of the ownership, which means, when you own the company that is providing you something there or selling your output there, that might be advantages. For example, for McDonald's, directly owning the McDonald's shops might be more beneficial because it is McDonald's and the company might directly go there and ensure its quality, as opposed to the case when McDonald's sells its products and basically those products are, of course, by the way, McDonald's is a service company, so it cannot sell its products in case of, it cannot sell its hamburgers as an indirect product, but it could sell maybe some intermediary products to the like milkshake mixes to the foreign companies. But in other cases, for example, when we are talking on Bayer or let's say Mercedes, direct owning the factory that is producing certain inputs for Mercedes or that is selling the products of Mercedes in the foreign country might provide some advantages to that company. So in that case, the company might basically get ownership of its, let's say, providers, and also in some cases ownership of certain companies that are providing secondary services in other countries. So that's one advantage. The other advantage is location advantage. Rather than being in United States, if being in Turkey or being in Japan is more advantageous for a company, the company might rather make a foreign investment. Sometimes it is because you need to have proximity of a natural resource. Of course, for the service sector, that's certainly the case. As I said, in service sector, it's not the ownership, but the location is the main advantage. For example, for McDonald's, opening a restaurant in Istanbul is advantages. Since people of Istanbul won't go to New York City to buy a hamburger, basically. The third advantage is internationalization. Basically, having connections, having companies, a branch of company at a foreign location might be more beneficial. For example, when you have a factory in a foreign location, you might have access to the skilled labor force there. So basically, having in this case, not specific location is important, but internationalization helps the company to the company's ability to use more resources. Not the best, specifically best resource. The workforce in New York City are still useful for the company, but the company might still want to access to the sources of them in Turkey also. So as it expands, its ability to use resources, or to get cheaper prices for things it sells, or its ability to sell products might be better if internationalization gives the company an advantage. Well, multinational corporations are subject of both celebration and hate in many cases. In my Marxist economics class, actually, I usually ask, is it really good to this drive to buy local, buy national products is a good thing, or should we? Why are the products of the companies that are producing at international level or even national level might be not that good. Interestingly, in Turkey, you might say that most of the multinational corporations are not our corporations, Turkish corporations, for example. But in the United States, even though a significant percentage of those corporations are US corporations, there is still prejudice against them. Well, one thing multinational corporations are certainly doing is actually integrate global economy and global workforce. They exist everywhere. They don't belong to a place, and they are actually buying products, workforce inputs from everywhere, and the workers inside of those companies are actually cooperating with each other, in some cases without even knowing each other, and in some cases, I mean, those workforce can also be, well, they might also they have some degree of communication with each other. So these corporations are something that is actually bringing, it's one of the actors that are leading to globalization, actually. Their relation with local suppliers and global workforce is actually a big question. So how much they produce themselves and how much they are providing from the inputs from themselves and even their national suppliers. For example, when we talk on Mercedes, how much it buys from the Germany, to some extent, actually, in case of Mercedes, for example, motor is bought from the international suppliers, although to some extent the local suppliers are also providing at least some of the inputs for the company, and Mercedes also works with them to improve their quality of products, or static quality basically, but also according to their claim, I had made summer practice there. They are also trying to increase quality of those companies and helping them to increase the quality, and also how much they are taking the local workforce and how much they are bringing the international their workforce from their own company is also a question. Whether the local workforce can get to the higher positions in the company, or rather people from their home nation are usually holding the higher position. So, and also whether the company might in some cases also make the workers to gain certain skills, basically, which are not which they cannot get from the local companies. Although if we have multinational corporations that are usually have their home countries as developed countries, it might also create kind of a hierarchy within the global workforce, even within those developing countries themselves, within the companies of the developing world themselves. I mean, within the workplaces, let's say, not companies, because the companies, well, are multinational, but also to some extent they belong to them. They also still have a home country, basically. So those are the aspects of the multinational corporations we might talk on and we might ask, basically. Now, outsourcing. I will talk more on the outsourcing in the next part. See you in the next part.